transfer portal, NIL, conference realignment, all this crazy stuff going on in college sports. It just feels like so much has changed in the last handful of years to the last decade. West Virginia obviously playing in the Big 12 Conference, where virtually nobody in their footprint, in their regional footprint, until this past year was Cincinnati. But one thing can change and will change in the very near future, and that is the West Virginia football uniforms. Good morning, everybody. I'm Schuyler Callihan here on Between the Eers, and today I figured we touch on a little something a little different, and that is the uniform situation. So WVU football got a rebrand or a refresh, or whatever you want to call it, new batch of uniforms in 2013 and 2019. These are typically 6-year deals that they have with Nike, meaning that this upcoming season in 2024 will be the last in which they sport the current look, which most fans don't really seem to care for all that much. It's too bland. It's very it's almost too plain, and it's a fine line to walk, because with West Virginia in a school and a program that is as storied as it is, you don't want to go too crazy with it. You don't want to stray too far away from the tradition or the traditional look. But this current look, it's not bad. It looks good, but it's not, I think, maybe the best look. So here's my thoughts on the current ones. I think really the one that stands out the most in terms of doesn't really fit West Virginia is the away uniform. I mean, the white and the blue, it is clean as hell. Like, don't get me wrong, it is an icy look, as the kids would call it, but it's not, it doesn't scream West Virginia. Like, if you are just happen to flip through the channels and you're just a casual fan and you're going through and all of a sudden that game pops up, the first thing probably pops across your head is not West Virginia. It's like Penn State or something like that. It doesn't look like WVU. It's too white and too blue. There's not enough gold factored in, especially when you go the Stormtroopers, or you go white, white, blue, or you go blue, white, white. There's virtually no gold in the uniform. So that to me is what I would change with the road set, is you got to bring the gold numbering back, or the gold outlining back. Go back to the Geno Smith, Bruce Irvin, Tavon Austin, Stedman Bailey days, where they had the gold right here. They had the gold on the shoulder pads as well, but they also had the gold lining on the numbers. I don't know if I would go with the gold here or here, but I think there's a way that you could probably do it to where it looks more modern, looks, still sleek, but I think the gold line outlining on the numbers has to return. It just looks so good when you had that yellow around the blue. It just really kind of popped off the jersey. The blue uniforms, again, really the blue and the gold, all three jerseys are just very, very basic. I mean, it doesn't look like there was much put into them from a design perspective. It was just, let's just slap some unique numbers on there and put the flying WV very smallly, very, very minuscule right here on the neck, and there's your jersey. So I don't really care for it. It's too bland. And I think the one thing that I really, really like the most out of pretty much most West Virginia uniforms over the years is the flying WV on the side of the shoulder pad. That's got to come back. I mean, you had it during the major days, you had it during Pat White's days. Every era of good Mountaineer football had the flying WV on the side of the shoulder pad, or the side of the jersey back then, because I guess the shoulder pads or the jerseys came past the shoulder pads back in the day. But I think that's got to come back. The flying WV right here, that's like not even an inch tall, on the neck is not enough for me. I mean, I think you've got to really sport that thing. It's one of the best looking logos in college sports, arguably in all of sports, and you've got to be able to represent that a little bit better. If not, I think also an alternative could be maybe even putting the state on the side, or maybe putting the state on one side, the flying WV on the other. I think that'd be a cool way to do it. Or you could implement the country roads kind of uniform look where you take the helmet decal that they have with the flying WV inside the state, put that on the sides of the shoulder pads, and I think that's a winner too. I don't think you can go wrong by putting either the state, the flying WV, or some combination of the two on the actual jersey. I think that's got to be something that they've got to go with. The whole idea behind the matte helmets, the matte finished helmets where there's no, gloss to them, right? Um, it was a really big thing back in 2011, 12, 13. That was kind of like the next wave of uniforms. And it just had a different look because no one really had that at the time. It was just kind of starting to come out. Now it's really just overused, and I think it's okay to have maybe for a particular uniform, maybe like an alternate or something, but to have it for all three, or I guess really all 30 some combinations that you have, it's a little over the top. Like I think you need to go back to the glossy look. The glossy look, man, like that blue helmet under the lights at Milan Puskar Stadium. I mean, talk about chef's kiss. Like it is gorgeous. That is, in my opinion, the best helmet. And I know it's very basic too, but that is the best helmet they've ever had. The glossy blue helmets from the Pat White Gino kind of years. They've got to bring those back. Get rid of the matte blue. I don't think it makes sense to have the blue. If you want to keep the matte white, that's fine because I think you can. There's a way that you can kind of implement that to all the uniforms, and it makes sense. You don't really need a glossy white, even though glossy white probably wouldn't look bad either. The gold helmet, mm, I think in certain combinations it looks right. It looks good. I'll tell you this: I'm not a fan of the banana suits. Yellow from top to bottom. I'm not for it. But I think in some uniform sets it makes sense. The grays I could care less for. I mean, I get it, and this is a very touchy subject. So, and the reason I'm even bringing this whole subject to the table today is because Rodney Gallagher went on the Athletic Aesthetic podcast. I want to say probably in the last week or so. I'm not really sure the date, but he kind of mentioned like, hey, we're going to be getting new uniforms next year, as in 2025, I would assume. And they kind of asked him about his whole kind of perspective of what he would like to see them take as an idea and make it into a uniform. He's saying go all black, head to toe, incorporate some mountains in there, which I like. I think that's a nice touch. Maybe you could do that somewhere on the shoulder pads. And he was basically kind of going for another country roads themed concept, but black head to toe. I don't mind it. Here's my thing on the black/gray uniforms. They're alternates for a reason. And I get fans get extremely upset about it. At least a portion of the fan base gets upset about it when you go away from the hardcore tradition blue and gold. I get it. It's not what you're used to. It's what has been worn for years and years and years. But in this day and age, it's about the fashion. It's about the style, the look, and feel good, play good, that kind of thing. When you're recruiting and you can take all the pictures and stuff, it doesn't sound like it's something that should matter, but in reality, it does. To these kids, it's not going to maybe make them make their decision, but hey, if you're kind of up in the air and really can't decide between two schools, I'm not saying it's going to come down to the uniforms by any means. It should never come down to that. And if it does, you're probably making the wrong decision. But it has a part in it. It has a small percentage. The team has cool uniforms. Yeah. Makes sense. If a team doesn't have the grandest of looks, then maybe you want to move on from that school, but maybe not. But my whole take on the black/gray thing is it's an alternate for a reason. You're not going to be wearing it every single weekend. So fans, if you see them come out with a black and or gray uniform combination, don't panic. Don't freak out. Don't go to Facebook and start complaining about all black is not a school color, gray's not a school color. I mean, it's nonsense. You're going to be wearing it one time a year, more than likely, maybe two, because sometimes these things get thrown into bowl games, but it's not going to become a regular thing. So don't ever fear, oh, because they introduce a black uniform that's going to eventually start to take over. They're going to become black and gold. It's not going to happen. Okay. Same thing can be said about gray. Those that feared about the gray a decade or so ago, where is that gone? It's still kind of a every once in a while thing, right? So I think if they do move into a new direction here with the new uniform or with uniforms, in my opinion, you got to go with one or the other. You can't have both gray and black. You've got to just pick one. And to me, get rid of the gray. It is a very, very weird kind of look. I think. I think the black and gold obviously go together, but I think even the blue, if you can kind of sprinkle in that blue in some areas, there's some schools, and I think Albany actually may be one of them, where they have a black and blue, like a black jersey with blue numbering, and it looks really good. You got to hit a home run on the concept, because if you don't, then black and blue just looks like blah. But if you get the concept right, it can look pretty sexy. I just don't know again what that would look like, but I think you go black instead of gray. Get rid of the grays. The gray too, and I've noticed not only in football but in basketball too, you can see the sweat. You can see all the marks of where they've been sweating, and I guess you can kind of see it on the gold uniforms a little bit. You really can't see it on the blue or the white. You can rarely ever see it. I don't even think it's possible that you could really see it on the black uniforms, the ones that the basketball team has, and the ones that you see all across college football. It's a solid look. I think if you hit it right, and it makes sense, you do the black uniform. You could do the coal rush and all that stuff. Everyone would be excited about it, and I know there's again that's that little sliver of the fan base that would just absolutely hate it. But again, it's for probably one game a year, and it doesn't matter if the team wins, you're going to be happy anyways. So that's kind of my whole spiel on the whole uniform situation. Again, West Virginia will, I believe, I haven't got this confirmed, but I believe this will be their last year under the current uniform look before transitioning possibly into something else. Now, if that is the case, they're already having these discussions about what that next uniform will look like, because WVU as a university, as an athletic program, as a football program, they kind of have to have an idea of what they want it to look like so they can send a pitch to Nike. Nike can start working on it. They get it signed off, because this is also obviously going to impact sales and everything else. They have to get this approved by a certain date. I don't know that exact date. I can try and figure that out, but I would assume that they're already getting the ball rolling on this process. So I think it's a fun thing. And hey, look, it seems like Neil Brown in this program have really started to maybe turn the corner. They had a 9-win season last year. You may have a really good year again this year, and it's a good time to whip out a new look and on the back of potentially two really strong seasons. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I really want to know, outside of the black and the gray uniform look, what you would like to see from the traditional side of it, the blue, gold, the white. Do they keep all three helmets? Do they keep all three jerseys, all three pants? Like, what do you want to see when they do eventually rebrand. It's either going to be this year, next year, sometime in the near future. It will happen. What concepts do you want to see? Numbers, mountains, wording. What kind of things do you want to see on the new WVU football uniforms that are going to be coming out here potentially in the next couple of years? Let me know on the YouTube comments, and while you're on there, hit subscribe at Mountaineers Now. Give us a like on our channel as well. It helps with the algorithm so we keep popping up in your guys' feed. And also follow us on X at Mountaineers Now. I'm Schuyler Callihan. You've been watching Between the Ears. We'll be back with another episode tomorrow morning.